One of the things I explicitly mentioned during my pre-release Baizhu analysis is that it would be a pretty great alternative to Nahida on Hyperbloom and Burgeon as a driver. By itself, this was a quite easy fact to predict, since he is a character who has always access to Dendro-infused attacks thanks to being a catalyst. However, many people were worried his lack of AoE would prove to be an issue in realistic scenarios. After I tested Baizhu out, I have to say there is a degree of truth to that, but I never thought that wouldn't be the case. The basis of my advice was that if Baizhu could be slightly weaker offensively compared to Nahida as a driver, while ensuring full immortality thanks to his healing, then it'd be a worthy alternative. Let me make a disclaimer. I've been trying Baizhu on a quite low investment account, so don't take the base performance you see as a strong indication of his potential. The first thing I did with Baizhu was testing the full upside of his Dendro application in a standard Hyperbloom rotation. Since he already provides all the healing the team could ever need, that means you can smoothly slot Raiden into the composition. The reason Raiden can be superior to Cookie is simple. Since her skill lasts for 25 seconds, she allows you to pull off longer rotations, while having an easier setup and more consistent Hyperbloom triggers throughout the entirety of your moves. In fact, this advantage Raiden has over Cookie generally allows you to get 6 or 7 more Hyperblooms on average for 2 seconds of longer rotation time, as Shincho has an 18 seconds elemental burst that Raiden can fully take advantage of to trigger additional Hyperblooms, while Cookie's elemental skill will end before the Hydro burst does. Not only that, but Raiden also provides useful burst buffs for the Hydro core of Yelan and Shincho, since she consistently buffs allies' burst damage through her elemental skill. Cookie can only match that contribution with a high refinement supportive weapon like Siphos. Basically, if you are in a situation where you can guarantee your own survival in some way, Raiden will generally have the edge over Cookie from a single target damage standpoint, excluding scenarios where her elemental skill can't properly hit seeds on the floor, which is the case against big opponents. From what I've been able to test, a Baizhu Hyperbloom team is capable of generating around 27 Hyperblooms in a rotation against a static target, which is around what Nahida can generate as well. In fact, while Nahida has access to superior theoretical application thanks to the high Dendro gauge hits her skill generates, that advantage doesn't always translate to more effective bloom generation performance, as there are scenarios where it simply causes the creation of too many seeds at once, going in conflict with Bloom's hits cooldown as a result. If you want to compare Baizhu Hyperbloom with Raiden to Nahida Hyperbloom with Cookie instead, which is fair since it gives the second team a defensive option as well, then Baizhu just straight up performs better in single target scenarios, for all the reasons I highlighted previously. Of course, Nahida has the edge in the scenarios she's also allowed to use Raiden, since she's a bigger source of damage herself than Baizhu is. In particular, Nahida's damage advantages translate to useful perks that can't be correctly evaluated through raw calculations. For example, since her elemental skill has guaranteed AoE hit consistency, while units like Shincho and Yelan mostly hit one target, that means that in AoE situations you will actually have pretty consistent quicken uptime on all the targets excluding the primary one. This allows Nahida's elemental skill to generate pretty decent damage throughout the rotation, and makes a team that's traditionally single target focused less problematic to use in multi-opponent scenarios. Meanwhile, the Baizhu variant fully showcases the core issues of the Hyperbloom reaction, as the damage unleashed by the composition ends up being pretty single target locked, excluding situations where opponents are very close to each other. This is the reason I actually preferred using a Burgeon composition with Baizhu. As a whole, I think Burgeon compositions are really underrated, since many people just assume that since they're worse than peak Hyperbloom composition, then they're just underwhelming. In reality, they're pretty great free-to-play teams, and in Baizhu's case, they're rather advantageous compared to Hyperbloom in my opinion, since Burgeon explosions have larger range and add a much-needed AoE source of damage to the composition. In Nahida's case, going from Hyperbloom to Burgeon has worse repercussions, since she loses the advantage of the quicken uptime in AoE I talked about before. So I believe that Burgeon compositions are where Baizhu has the biggest chances at fully overtaking Nahida. I've mostly tried this team with Thoma, but you can try Deya or even Xiangling on the team as well, although the latter will need quite the massive amount of energy recharge to function on the team with no issues. On top of Baizhu not having particular drawbacks compared to Nahida for the comp damage wise, his healing is even more needed here than on Hyperbloom, since Burgeon explosions also hit your character, a factor that has always put major stress on Thoma's fragile shield. Rotation damage wise, Burgeon compositions with Thoma are honestly not too different from Hyperbloom compositions with Cookie, since their two off-field skills have equal duration, so the amount of bloom triggers is also similar. You'll just have to be careful about handling Thoma's energy economy right, since his burst cost is quite annoying, nothing a good old Favonius weapon or a free-to-play Kitten Spear can't fix, however. All in all, as it was easy to expect, Baizhu can be a quite great on-field driver, and while he has some issues in multi-target situations, the variety of options he has access to in the niche, and the overall greatness of these Burgeon and Hyperbloom compositions as a baseline, makes it easy for the DUA Doctor to succeed. I'm done for today. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time!